What's up, guys? Josh here with Ned.
What's up, guys?
And we're actually going to bring you guys some YouTube content together now and in some future videos. So one of the main things we're going to be talking about today is actually going to be consistency within training and diet. This is something that both Ned and I are very passionate about, and passionate about people doing in their own training. I mean, Ned has a master's in exercise science, and he works with clients as well. So I would say that one of the big things we see people do is they start throwing in way too many variables. And especially like when we start looking at training. I mean, you have people doing different exercises every single time they go in the gym, or people doing powerlifting one week, then CrossFit the next week, and then so forth. And it's just kind of all over the place. And consistency within that training is going to be something that's really going to help you continue to progress. Would you agree with that, Ned?
Yeah, I think realistically, when it comes to consistency in training, and this is something that we've even seen in research and in the lab, is that obviously we know that progressive overload works, but in order for progressive overload to work, you need to actually start to be proficient at that actual movement.
Yeah.
So, we really want to see people in their training sticking to movements that are going to help those other movements, right? Yes. So in some cases, like you were talking about, you really don't see a lot where people go from bodybuilding to CrossFit to powerlifting daily, like a daily undulating periodization with that. But what you are seeing is a lot of people saying, all right, well, I'm doing powerlifting, and then right from powerlifting, I'm going to do a 4-week mesocycle, and then I'll do a 4-week mesocycle of bodybuilding, and things like that. And they kind of throw out that strength factor right out the window. Mm-hmm. And I think not to say that power building doesn't work, because I mean, obviously it works.
Yeah.
I've done it quite a bit. But it is saying that we need to be consistent with the training style, and we need to be consistent with the actual movements that we're doing. So for chest, for back, for things like that, we do need to be consistent with those and not walk into the gym and go, all right, well, I'm not really feeling back today. Maybe I'll do some, CrossFit, or I'll do some powerlifting, things like that. So.
And one of the things is, if you are in a strength phase or you are a powerlifter, I mean, if you want to get your squat better, do movements that are going to really help your squat.
Yeah.
Don't just go in the gym and think, oh man, I got to improve my squat. Well, let's just go into X and X. That's not really going to help. Or it's not going to benefit you the most. Or say you're into bodybuilding or just physique development in general, and you need better hamstrings. Don't focus on quads only if your priority is going to be hamstrings. I mean, especially if you suck at movements like myself. I'm terrible at lying leg curls. Yeah. It's a phenomenal movement. It should be a staple in my program, which it is. I'm just still terrible at it. And it's something that I've been working on for months now to improve, and slowly it's getting better. But if I were to just say, screw it, I'm going to stick to seated leg curls and some sort of hip extension, my lying leg curl will never improve. And I mean, that's a factor of training that would be missing from that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And I think really, coming down to that is, you had a perfect segue into logging your workouts, right? So you coming in and saying, okay, well, I'm in a strength phase, I'm going to do squat, and then, I'm going to do a couple other movements that maybe aren't as correlative with squat. We need to be able to be tracking those movements, right? So am I getting stronger? Am I getting bigger? Are these movements becoming easier? Or is my lying leg curl becoming more efficient, right? And that's really what's going to come through this logging. It's going to help us actually stay consistent, help you guys out there stay consistent, is coming in, doing the exercise, tracking the weights, the reps, the load, and actually being able to check your volume, right? Consistency in volume, and obviously progressively overloading that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing would also help is setting a goal for yourself. So in 4 weeks, I would like to be doing X amount of reps or X amount of weight with this amount of, or for this amount of reps on this exercise. So if you want to get your squat bigger and you're squatting 225 for 5 right now, say in 8 weeks you want to squat 225 for 10. Make that your goal and then prioritize that. prioritize what you need the most, and don't just go in there with a mind of, oh, it's back day, let's just do some back. No, like, have a goal before you go in the gym, and set both short and long-term goals. And especially with, like, bodybuilding or any sort of exercise, short term doesn't mean like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, to actually start really seeing changes, it's going to take you about 6 to 8 weeks for a short term here. So I mean, set a short term goal of like 2 months, and then set long term goals of 8 months to a year. I mean, that's about the time frame I would suggest you should be looking at for this. So
I mean, if we look at my training, for instance, we're looking at what we've been together since January, and I mean, we're just now starting to look at another goal. And just kind of prioritizing what we need to be fixing and things like that. So I mean, realistically, when it comes to goal setting, we really talk about that people that are setting goals for themselves are more successful than those that don't. And that again comes down to consistency, and that tracks with consistency, because if you're not setting goals for yourself, you're probably not logging things, because you really don't have anything to work towards. And if you don't have anything to work towards, then you're not going to be consistent in what you're doing, because I mean, it's really human nature to do what's popular, and it's really human nature to do what feels good, and it's not human nature to be uncomfortable, right? So if I've set a goal of being 240 pounds in the next couple months, and I'm not tracking my workouts, I'm not progressively overloading, I'm not making sure the muscles that I know need to be worked are being worked at that time, and my training is inconsistent, I'm not going to reach that goal. And it's just quite simple that way. So yeah, I mean, I think realistically, starting with the goal, logging workouts, being consistent with what you're doing is going to really start to come together. You're going to see your training increase. It's a matter. You have to. And if you don't, well, so.
If you don't, well, by doing all that, you know that what you just didn't really work.
No.
So now you actually have an objective way to look back and say, okay, this didn't do anything. Let's make changes now, and let's try something completely different. I mean, because everybody is different. So what I might give to Ned might not work best for you. I mean, if you are tracking and doing that, doing some sort of progressive overload, you're going to have to see progress. It just might not be the most amount of progress that you might want to achieve or that you could be achieving. So there is times where you do need to play around with that, but you have to give things a shot first. And that kind of goes into diet as well. People eat for 1 week, crap, I didn't lose any weight, or oh man, I didn't gain enough weight, let's change up the diet, this isn't working. No, like the body doesn't work like that at all. It's like, it's just kind of annoying. I mean, dealing with clients and stuff at the same time, where I hear this continuously, is, oh man, it's been 3 days, I haven't lost any weight, what's wrong? Well, it's been 3 days. It doesn't necessarily happen that fast, but
I think with diet, it comes down to also, if you're not consistent with what you're putting in your body, how are you going to learn what works right for your body? Right. For me, for instance, like, I literally cannot eat banana and avocado, I just don't digest them well at all.
I thought you were going to say you can't eat them together. Like, that's a little bit weird, but
well, I probably couldn't eat those together as well either. But literally, if I was not consistent for months, years, weeks, just even, I would not have realized that was something that hindered my GI tract. And I think that's something that a lot of people, and I have absolutely nothing against if it fits your macros, but I think that's a lot of times when you put so much variability and so many foods into your diet, where it's like, wow, I really didn't feel good after this meal. Or maybe they don't even track that they didn't feel good after that meal. That in a sense, you're never able to pinpoint what works for you. And I mean, obviously, if it's the fish and rice cakes diet, right? You're always going to be able to find that, but not everybody tracks their food and tracks their diet and where it's going. But realistically, if you're not consistent with your diet, again, you're not tracking and you're not setting goals. You're not able to find out long-term what works for you. And it goes back to that training aspect, where if you know what works for you in training and you're consistently doing it and you're overloading, and you know what works for you in the diet and you're consistently maybe adding calories or losing calories, things like that, you're going to be successful in the long long term.
Of course. And also, I mean, if you are tracking your food and you're having great workouts and one day you change something, you're like, that workout was kind of crappy, or I just didn't feel right, or I've had bad indigestion during my training. Look, you're able to look back and be like, oh, well, this changed, and before I was doing this, and that's actually when I was training phenomenally. That stuff makes a difference because, I mean, it's all about calories, blah, blah, blah. It is to an extent.
Yeah.
But however, foods react differently in different people.
Yeah.
There are some foods where I can eat and I'm not going to train great after eating it. Example, I'm not going to eat just a donut and then go to the gym. That's just not going to happen. Yeah, you can say, oh, if you're in deficit or surplus, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but, food affects your performance.
Yeah.
In the end, I'm a performance athlete. Ned's a performance athlete. Our goal is to get the absolute most we can out of the gym session while we're there. I want to make sure I'm doing everything I can to do so. If you're a person who can do that, great for you. I applaud you right now, but for me, it's just not something that's possible.
Yeah.
And by logging and by knowing what I've been doing, I've actually found that just beef, vegetables, and coconut oil gives me the absolute best workouts. Yeah. Actually, not doing any carbs at all, within 2 hours of pre-training, I have the best workouts ever. Yeah. I have great pumps, great energy, all that, and I've learned that just from trying different things, but being consistent with what I've been trying. Because before that, I was big onto just beef and rice.
Yeah.
Then once I cut the rice out, did vegetables and coconut oil, my workout skyrocketed, my performance, my energy, my focus, all that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the only reason that you found that out is because you tracked. And I think so many times people are so caught up in what they've done or what they see work for other people, like, I'm going to have my chicken and my rice pre-workout because that's what I see everyone doing. Yeah. And they're so caught up and I think I'm going to get really kind of like organic with you, but is I think so many, we live in a society right now where we're so used to being sick, right? We're so used to being inflamed. We're so used to having very bad insulin sensitivity and being insulin resistant that literally our entire life is in this sick category. We don't know what it feels like not to be inflamed. We don't know what it feels like to have amazing energy and not rely on coffee or energy drinks. And I think that's a huge thing with consistency in diet and consistency in what we're doing in our lifestyle. Yeah. That we can then track what we're doing and say, okay, wow, that rice and chicken really is not doing well for me. I'm not a white rice person. Yeah. Maybe I am a brown rice person. And you can just put things in and then, because I'll tell you right now, when you literally don't have to worry about caffeine during a workout, which is tough. I mean, I work out at 5 a.m., so I do. But when you don't have to worry about that the rest of the day, dude, it's insane. You feel that, like, those foods for you is beef and coconut oil and vegetables. Like, you know what it feels like to be 100%. And there's a lot of you guys out there that might not necessarily know what it feels like to be 100%, even though you think you're at 100%, right?
I'm dying. So, and a lot of the things that goes into the lifestyle is going to be things like your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Are you sleeping enough? Are you sleeping at all? Is it day to day differently? I know some people have jobs where sleep is going to be an issue, but if you don't have an issue getting 8 hours of sleep, you should be doing so. Yeah. I mean, the past 2 days I've gotten 8 hours, which is something I rarely do. I'm more of a 5-hour person, but I felt great. Like, I've cut down on my caffeine throughout the day. I've literally just taken a little bit before training, and that's it. And it's late, and I still have energy to keep going. Like, I feel so much better because of that, and it's crazy. And so that's one of the big things, is be consistent with your sleep. If you can only sleep a little bit, be consistent with that and try to catch up on the weekends or whenever you can.
Maybe even like cat naps during the day.
Yeah, if you can, even 20 minutes here and there, it's going to help you. It gives you excess energy. It just wakes you up, gets you going, and if it helps your training in the long run, hey, it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think with that, it comes down to this whole kind of grind mentality. And for those of you guys that follow me on Instagram, or maybe I did have a little bit of a rant a couple weeks ago about that, where it's like, all right, so these people are talking about, you got to sacrifice things. And that's true. You do have to be successful, you do have to sacrifice things, but you have to be consistent even in those like sacrifices. So if you're consistently a 5 or 6 hour person, it's crazy how adaptive our bodies are. Our bodies can adapt to that, where But again, it comes to consistency. You can't be going out drinking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, whatever people go out now.
Thursdays start at the Bull.
Yeah, Thursdays. There we go. Thursdays and then Fridays. And yeah, I haven't gone out in a while now. But no, it's if you're going out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then you expect to perform your best come Monday, you're just not going to.
No.
But I mean, and it even comes with like, oh, I'm grinding, but well, I'm going to sleep 12 hours on Saturday, but on Monday I'm only going to sleep 2.
Yeah.
It's just physiologically, it's not smart. Your body can adapt, but your body can only adapt to consistency, right? It's not going to adapt to 12 hours here, 2 hours there. You know, I'm going to bed at midnight here, but I'm going to go to bed at 5 a.m. here. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to be 100% optimal. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the main takeaway from this, I would say, is be consistent in what you're doing and keep the variables low.
Yeah.
Don't start throwing in a bunch of stuff every single day or every single training session or whatever, just in life in general, especially if you're going through a prep. I would say that's the biggest thing, is don't be 8 weeks out and decide, oh, I'm going to change up my protein powder. I'm going to try all these pre-workouts or maybe change my seasonings. Oh, hey, look, barbecue sauce. Let's try this. Yeah. It's like just, if you're in a prep, especially for people who are higher level competitors, don't mess anything up. You're literally on stage naked in front of everybody. You want to look the absolute best you can. Go without the extra diet soda. Go without the little sauce on your food. Just give it up and push through. I mean, it's only for a short period of time. Then it's not worth changing things up and risking anything.
I mean, you make that point, and it comes to the point of what happens the 24 hours before you step on stage, right?
Yeah.
It's those guys that go out for the burger and fries before that, you know, some people can get away with it and look great, but realistically, it's probably better if you've been eating sweet potato and chicken.
Yeah, to just increase what you've been eating.
Exactly, because I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
And you guys have seen it as well, where
I've been on both ends of it.
Yeah, you go in and you've been eating your sweet potato, your rice, your chicken, your beef, and you get on show day and you have Snickers and you know, protein powders and things like that to fill you out, and that just comes down, again, consistency. Be consistent with what you're doing. Stop adding so much into your workouts. Stop changing things up so much, because realistically you're not spending enough time to see something work. You don't build muscle in a week. You don't lose fat in a couple days. When you have a cheat meal, you're probably, unless you're super lean and you're super deep, you're probably gonna gain weight. So stop stressing about the sodium. Because you had a cheat meal or a cheat day, don't go and change your diet the next week to make up for it. It's just, if you can be consistent and have put this in like applicable terms, is stick to a training schedule minimum 12 weeks, minimum, and that's like bare minimum 3 months. Just stick to it. And I don't care if you're doing CrossFit or if you're doing powerlifting or bodybuilding or you're running for a marathon, whatever it may be. Stick to it. Stick to a diet. You know, again, minimum 12 weeks, the same route, and be logging your food so you know how you're feeling after meals. How are you feeling after a certain food that's in your diet? And just be consistent with how you're sleeping, recovering, the supplements you're taking, the things that you're doing. Just, you know, obviously life throws variables at us, but the things that you control are really your training, your intensity, your diet. You can control your sleep for the most part, and you control your daily activities for the most part, right? So just control the things you can, and those outside things, just take them as they come, but you're going to be successful if you just control you, focus on what you're doing, stop worrying so much about just the, you know, what's cool, what's on Instagram, what this guy's eating pre-workout, what that guy's doing for training. Do what works for you.
And that's pretty much it, man. So thank you guys for watching. We both really appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or want to see us chat about anything in the near future, feel free to leave comments in the box below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys very much, and thank you, Ned, for coming on.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.